morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to episode 75 of Lifestyle Pirates with me, Big J, and him,
Adriano. Ciao.
This week we are joined by an athlete in two areas, not only on the water, but in the office as well. We're going to talk to Andrew Chan, aka Chantastic, about his journey in the world of dragon boating. Mate, welcome to Lifestyle Pirates.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Dragon boating. Did you say boating?
Yeah. Do you even know what that is?
Absolutely not.
Good. Well, we're going to learn.
Yeah.
aren't we? We're going to learn. How are we doing, mate?
Too easy.
Too easy. You're looking fit. You're looking toned. You got a few weapons either side, mate.
Yeah, man. Last time I saw you, man, you're like double the size.
Yeah.
Who's your supplier?
Oh, determination.
Yeah. Oh, no. It says a postcard, mate.
Yeah.
Well, I think my humble Italian friend asked a very valid question. Mate, what is dragon boating?
Yeah. Dragon boating in its simplest form is 20 people in a boat. So you got 10 rows and you sit side by side. There's usually a dragon head at the front and there's a drummer who sits there and there's a sweep at the back. And so all in all, there'd be 22 people on the boat. And that's what we call a standard boat configuration. And so this sport is heavily popular in Asia. So throughout China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Indonesia, right through to Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore. And now it's popular all around the world. So more recently, it's all across Europe. So they have European World Championships. They have Asian Championships this year. They had World Championships last year. The USA, Canada, they all field really, really strong teams. UK, your hometown, fields a pretty strong team. So I think they've been famous with, I think Kate was dragon boating and they got Prince William to try it as well. So
Right.
yeah, it's bigger than what we think. Yeah.
And so what's the history of it, do you know?
Yeah, so it was one of the scholars back in the day. He was betrayed by someone, and he committed suicide. And so he was very famous. He was very loved. And so what they would do is they would throw all these rice dumplings into the water, and they would paddle the dragon boats down the stream just to wish him well. If you look it up, it's a whole holiday festival in China. But we, in Australia, our biggest event when it comes to these dragon boats is what recently has been Lunar New Year. So we just had a massive race down in Darling Harbour. It happens around Chinese New Year time, where the city of Sydney, they put on a whole range of activities. Post-COVID, they made it the biggest ever. So it was just last month, and there was hundreds and thousands of people, not 100,000, but thousands of people by the water, and they were really supportive, and they got to really see the culture. So a lot of dragon boaters countries would have a look and they'd say, why would you dragon boat during Chinese New Year? It's not the usual time that you would dragon boat race. But I guess for the Asian community, it's a way to keep in touch with your roots.
Yeah.
And it's very funny. Dragon boating, back in the day, I used to think it was very Asian. And when I picked up dragon boating, I was part of I'm part of a board, and the chairman pulled me aside, and he's definitely not Asian, he's Westerner. And he said to me, he pulls me in, he's showing me in his office, he's a lawyer, he runs his own practice, he pulls out this trophy, and it's got winner, Lunar New Year, like 1950 something. And I was like, whoa, like Australians are so sporting. So they don't care what sport it is. They've really adopted the sport. The sport is really unique. I mean, I'm sorry for jumping in and saying so much, but like the sport is very community based.
Yeah. So
what draws you to the sport is that at individual sport is I'm competing against you, you're competing against me, and it's a different psyche. Whereas community sport is where you can't row, you can't paddle. Sorry, paddle is dragon boating because it's a canoeing-based sport. Rowing is rowing. So you cannot paddle a boat with just one person. So it's about teamwork. So the communities are really strong. So imagine you turned up to a community, which is dragon boating, and they said, mate, Big J, you've got the frame. You're going to be the weapon. We want you to get as good.
Not the first time I've heard that.
Yes.
Nice.
Thanks. You'll pay me later. Yeah. And they'll literally welcome you with open arms, and they'll say, these are everything that I've learned, and I want you to get as good and as fast as possible. And I'm going to heap you with a heap of support. It's like instant family. And no matter where you go, whether it's Western Australia, Queensland, Adelaide, Victoria or New South Wales, it's going to be the same feeling, or anywhere else in the world. So that's what makes it amazing at just the grassroots level. And then when you talk about rep, it just enhances it as well.
So you mentioned a few positions on the boat, sweep. I don't know if you said the people on either side have a position name, and a drummer and stuff. So walk us through what are the positions and what's their sort of role?
Yeah, so I guess the drummer is keeping the time, the rhythm. Okay. So they need to keep the time, and naturally there's a cadence to when you're paddling.
Yeah.
And so they will bring the rate up, and there's a race plan. The sweep is guiding the boat. So you don't want to have situations where the boat veers off into another dragon boat lane.
Yeah.
There'll be also races where there might be a 2K race where you actually have to steer the boat around a course.
Yeah,
and
okay.
It becomes a real steer type of race in terms of skill and ability. In terms of the boat, what you have 10 rows. So the first row is the strokes. And the strokes tend to be very experienced, very strong. And what they do is they set the pace for the whole boat. So they're all often some of the stronger, more experienced paddlers because they're breaking heavy water. So you'll see from a dead start, they will hit the tension in the water first, and they'll break that water. And then what they do is they have to keep in time, and they set that time. And then the next 3 rows from there, 2, 3, 4, they're what we call the pacers. So they keep the pace. So they keep the rate, and they don't protect they protect the back, the second half of the boat from going too fast or getting too enthusiastic. Then we have 5 to 8, 5, 6, 7. They're what we call the engine room. So they're the big boys. So you Adriano and John, definitely engine room material. And so
Stop it.
they say, look, this is
that
what
near
we
the kitchen? That's why. That's where I'll be, mate.
Yeah. They go. This is where the carbs kick in, and so then you're in a race, and they'll go engine room. We need to feel it from the engine room because you can't pull a boat along. You need it. Imagine like a speedboat, it's getting driven from behind, and then at the end you've got what we call the turbos, and they're doing the same job as the front, but the difference is that the turbos have less room, and the water's moving really, really fast. So they have to be just as fit and have really, really good timing to grab the water and then contribute. If they're not fast enough, they'll be
swinging.
Yeah, correct. So that's it in a nutshell. And so what makes Dragon Boat so good is that generally your top, because the Dragon Boat is shaped like a leaf. So you'll find more slider physiques are able to fit in the first 3, 4 rows, and then larger physiques can fit in the middle, and then again at the back. So it's a sport for everyone. So it doesn't matter your height, shape, or form. In the end, you'll have a place if you would do it. What is amazing about the sport is that you can never pick who's going to be good at Dragon Boat. So I'm talking in terms of racing clubs. So we have community clubs and we have racing clubs. So community clubs, that community that we spoke about, there's a really, really big, I wouldn't say movement, but category in Dragon Boat, which is around breast cancer survivors. And so, naturally what happens, you have cancer, you have surgery. The most important thing is to get out there and start moving again. So it's less about racing, more to be get out. There's people like you, come feel the community, and that's really lovely. And then there's also it's really popular in regional areas, and it's been in the news quite recently about retirees finding the sport because they have the time, and they culturally they've never heard of it. But once they get there, it's a sport where you can start from zero and become really good, and it's something that you can continue to do as you age. And so some of those communities thrive because they just get them out of the home, being alone, give them a sense of community. Back to what I was saying about representative and who do you know? Dragon Boat is very much about heart. So it's about someone can go to the gym and they can look like they could lift the whole world. They could look like Atlas, but you put them in a boat and they get 3/4 down the course and then they fall to pieces. So what I've learned over time is when someone joins Dragon Boat, you disregard how they look because you'll find out. It's just imagine you find a stone, and then over time they polish themselves through their hard work, diligence, training, commitment, and you'll find a diamond, and you just don't know. And that's what's so amazing, watching people join, embrace the community, and suddenly turn into their best versions of themselves.
I like it. So it's a bit, the boat structure is a bit like a rugby team.
Yeah.
A bit like having your pack and all that kind of stuff.
It literally is.
Yeah.
You all have each other's back.
Yeah.
And in many ways, like in the training sessions or whether you're in a game or a race, for me, I get the tingles when we talk about racing straight away, because if I'm hurting, but the people who are diamonds will, at that point, they'll look around and you'll lift. And you
don't let them down.
Yeah, you don't want to let your brothers or your teammates down, right? And so when you lift, you just watch the atmosphere. If like-minded people, they all lift as well.
Yeah.
And that's really infectious. And we've seen other teams where the opposite has happened. One guy gives up, and then it just gets harder for everyone else in the team, and then everyone else gives up. So yeah, definitely mentality is a big thing in sport at the highest echelon of performance. If everyone looks fit and strong.
Yeah.
So what got you into it?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. There was a few reasons. One reason is being a financial advisor. I set goals and I plan, and I always say you can achieve your best life through planning. And often the result of good financial planning is having good longevity. And then in the beginning, the conversations were very wealth-based, goal-based. What do you want to do? In the end, as the business progressed, a lot of the conversations are around time and health. Once you have enough wealth, we've achieved what we aim to do. Do you have the time to achieve everything on the bucket list that we've planned? And the answer often is, I wish we had more time. And I always think about begin with the end in mind. And so it may be some people want to have longevity, some people would want to be wealthy, but wealth is not it. Wealth is a means to an end. So achieving, have I served my country? Have I looked after the family? Have I been the brother, the mother, the father I meant to be? Have I done something beyond myself for a cause that I feel important? Do I sit here in my chair as I look back? Do I have any regrets that I could have gone harder? There was that itch that I could have scratched, that if I had my time over, that I would do it again. And this is what we want to. That's what we want to avoid. And for a long time, I was saying in the office that I used to be really fit, and that just gets old. And it was during COVID, and at the time, one of my staff members says, "Andrew, you don't have to keep coming to the office early. wearing a suit and tie. It doesn't change anything. Go do it. And she was wonderful. Her name was Grace, and so she encouraged me to just get out there and do it. At the same time, I have children, so I wanted to set example. And if there's any parents out there, they know it's very easy to point fingers and say, do this, do that. But kids, they not only hear you, but they look at what you do. And the fact is that when I look back at myself, jump on the phone, jump on the social media, sit down, and I felt that I was not sincere. I wasn't authentic. Usually when I do things, I do them and I set an example. So I said, my son, I wanted him to do rowing. So I said, hey, why don't, we haven't made sport a focus for you, and it's not been a focus for me. So why don't we both set out to join? You do rowing and I'll do dragon boating, and I'll tell you about my goals for what I want from the sport, and maybe you can set some goals for yourself. So really I wanted to also set an example and apply planning and help show my son some life lessons through the ups and downs of my journey. And so I set some goals, and I said to him, and I said, look, I aim to join a club, hopefully make it into their top boat in a year's time, try out for states in 3 years, 2 years, and try out for Australia in 3 years. And so I managed to join a club called the Sloths Dragon Boat Racing Club. It was just Providence. We won the state championships in my first race. They put me in that team that won. It was like a fairy tale. Yeah. And then that year we won nationals, and that was 2022. And so we won nationals again in 2023 for the 200 and 500 meters. So I guess we are defending champs at the moment for the opens category. But that was a real whirlwind journey. And then for the state team, I made it in for 2022 and 2023, and I made it into the national team in 22 and 23. Now, what I share with you is that I didn't make it into the Australian team proper in 2022. Well, I was actually a reserve. I wasn't even a reserve. I was part of the train-on squad. And this is what I mean about when life deals you lemons, you make lemonade. Because what I was sharing is that if you have a goal, you have a passion, you want to do it. You make up your mind, and regardless of what the answer is, one no is not going to change things. If you really believe in something, you'll continue to do it. That was just a path in the road that maybe blocked you. But maybe it was an opportunity to reflect, what could I have done better? And so I turned up to training. I was able to train, and I was very grateful for that. And then throughout the process, one of the incumbents had to pull out, unfortunately, and I was able to clinch that spot. And I had shared with my son that journey of failure, and I share with them when I don't achieve, and how I react when I don't achieve, and how I believe I'm going to overcome that. So being able to say, oh, look at Andrew, he's a National Dragon Boat representative today, I think in many respects, for many athletes, why I respect any athlete when I see them on the television, there's a whole story of how they got there. The sacrifices they make to run 9 seconds and win gold. Like, that's 4 years of his life, 12, Usain Bolt, you see it everywhere. It's not something that just happens. It's a journey, it's a process. So for me, that was another one of the reasons. So in recapping, I would say that why I got into it was to be sincere when I'm telling people to take care of your health. Be sincere when I say chase your goals, chase your dreams, live your best life. Many people, if you know, that might be in business, it might be as being a family. I'm not telling everyone to go out and pick up a sport, but do what you're passionate in. And if you're disciplined and you put all your effort in, you'll be able to change the world. And if you don't do anything, then you'll be in danger of just being what could have been. And I think that is a very sad position to be in when I think about the amount of depression that's out there at the moment, particularly in COVID, when we were stuck at home on our couches, unable to get out, socialize, be who we were placed on this earth to be. So that is what motivates me, and to look back every day and say, I gave it a red hot go today. Yeah.
You said something about teaching your son about failing.
Yes.
I didn't hear a single failure in what you've just said. In your mind, where did you go wrong?
Okay, so
Or what was the lesson you maybe taught him in terms of how you saw yourself failing?
yeah, so when I said failing, I told him my goals. So the process was, this is what I'm going to do, and throughout that magical journey, I had hit every mark. Before it was, but I made them so concrete that at some point it was, when would the fairy tale end? And then it was to say, how do I deal with this? Like, the answer was no. You would hope. You're not ready. Like, you try out. I was really trying out to prepare myself for the next campaign. So expecting I'll be given feedback to know where my areas of weaknesses were. Yeah. And I wanted to share with him how hopeful I was and how hard I wanted to work and achieve it, but also the disappointment in maybe not achieving at that time. And so I guess that was the failure. It's easy to share when things are going well. It's easy to share when you're a winner. Can you share honestly when things aren't going quite right? Because in this world of social media, painting a picture of being a winner, I think it's very easy to do. But it's a trap. So once you create a life that is paper thin, you lose that connection. You lose that authenticity. And I think being a role model, which is what I was trying to be, I needed to be able to honestly share in all the good and all the bad. And what I wanted to share with him was the disappointment.
That's the word I've been looking for.
Okay.
Because for me, you haven't failed. You didn't fail. You disappointed.
Yes.
They're two very different things.
Oh, I think, as he mentions,
Right,
what his expectations were.
Yeah.
Like, you can say, okay, I'll put that down to a failure point. Is it a failure point? That's probably being a bit harsh on yourself. Yeah.
That's actually all. I'm so pleased you used that word, because I was literally it was on the tip of my tongue.
It sounds like my father telling me, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah. I heard it when I was a kid as well. Yeah. And so how is your son that does the rowing, is he following in your footsteps? Is he enjoying it as much as you? Because I guess when you're young as well, it's more around getting your children into a sport just from a wellness, a fitness, a kind of fun, Yeah. Is he following in Dad's footsteps around that competitive nature?
I wouldn't say that. Let me round back and say that my upbringing was a very tiger parent Asian upbringing where sport wasn't particularly a focus. Academics, doing A only second is last.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you play violin?
Yeah, I'd play violin.
Of course you did.
Yes.
Piano?
No piano, violin.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was tragic, right? So anyone who subscribes to Asian family traits that was my life. And so there was an unhealthy emphasis on academics and very little emphasis on sport.
And why is that, out of interest?
Parents, so that's an interesting question on so many levels, but like Asian parents want to make sure that the kids are brought up to succeed. So they'll give them so much more adversity. So when they come out into the real world, they're really going to shine. Part of that is some cultural beliefs of you study, you become a doctor, accountant, or lawyer, and sometimes it's about face and respect, wanting to not look lesser amongst their peers. But for the most part, a lot of them, it's well-meaning. So, you know, they want their children to be established. Who wants to see their children on the street? They just want to see that their kids are responsible, can see you to buy a property, put a roof over their heads, and so they know that then each generation is sorted. So Asian families are they think about their dynasty. So they think about, how do I set up the next generation? How do we keep that going? And it's from a very good place. But it's also, if I was to reflect, it puts extreme pressure. So there'll be a handful that break, and we hear stories about them all the time. They check out, and it's very sad for those. And the others, they just mature, right? And they appreciate the well-meaning intentions that the parents had for them. But on a mental note, they're tough. You can throw anything at them, and they will be able to. They'll be a jack of all trades. They'll be able to keep everything spinning and going at the same time. And so it's why I say it was a very interesting question. So as a parent, you look at the children today, and we don't put any roadblocks in front of them. So as soon as they encounter something difficult, they fall to pieces. And so,
are you talking in general?
Just in general, right? So. But back to your question about my son, is he athletic? Is he someone who will be competitive? I think he's becoming that way. He never was, and so he's in the second 8 at school. He'll be competing at the head of the river this weekend. His attitude when I was telling him what to do was miles different when he just watches me do what I do. So he'll do an erg, and he'll tell me what his time was, and I go, and we're not worried about what time he did. We talk about what was the improvement, and I don't expect any. There's nothing that I put on him. He'll just share with me, and I'm
normally happy if I finish on an
Really?
ergometer. Not than any timing or anything like. I'm happy if I'm just still alive.
Maybe that's another session.
Happy when I turn up.
Yeah. So I'll share with him. I'll have metrics that I'll need to do. And I'll say, this is what I'm trying to do, and this is what I hit, and so, but just support. Like if you discuss it, and it's something that is, I normalize sport now within the home, because it's something that's healthy, something that I feel it's a life skill. So Australians are very good at teaching their kids how to swim. So I think teaching kids how to swim, playing sport. Education, I think they're cornerstones of say parenthood.
Let me just fix that. I'm going back to that adversity point as well, right? Because I see a lot of similarities between Italian parents and sort of Asian parents as well. Now you mentioned that that's sort of like an old school generation or older mentality of how to parent a child. Do you think a lot of those sort of nuances of how to parent a child have sort of brushed off on you as well? Do you do those same sort of upbringings? Obviously not to the same extent, especially, I don't have children, but, I'd imagine that I wouldn't be as strict as what, my parents were. But, I'd probably try and keep those same sort of core values and stuff.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head on values. I think it's the values that I've held on to. I think the execution is something that I've moderated.
Oh, yeah.
So
Polished a little bit.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we were often told what to do. I think the kids these days but mind you, growing up, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have color television. There was no distractions. You rode your bike till the dark of night and you just pop back in for tea, right? So the kids don't want to get out. They're glued to a screen.
Yeah. It's tragic.
Yeah, they can't seem to handle like a whole host of different activities because they feel they haven't had enough downtime. So you really need to pick your choices of what you preference as a parent, and then that will be based on any individual family's preferences. But one thing I have noticed is, one thing I have been saying is, whether it's academics or whether that I find Asian families or Jewish families, Indian families seem to really, really drive hard, or Western families seem to really love, or Italian love their sport and drive the kids in the morning to squad training at 4 a.m. and cricket practice and AFL, like 3 different sports. They are literally bringing up the children exactly the same way. If you compare training,
Different disciplines, yeah.
Yeah, people complain about tutoring your kids. When you send your kid to soccer training and then you get them a personal coach,
yeah,
you're tutoring your kids in soccer.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're doing their drills, they're doing past papers, right? You know, kids doing past papers are doing the same. And so what I say to the kids is, it doesn't matter what you do. All it is, it's simple. I say to them, when I'm training, I'm practicing. I'm practicing over and over and again until, so when it comes to game day or it comes to your exam, you know you've done the work. It's not a guess what the result is going to be. And so success, whether it's sport, whether it's music, whether it's networking, whether it's a business, whether it is anything, are all different facets of the same gem. It's diligence that determines whether you are successful. And if you have succeeded in any capacity, you will be able to apply those same skills to be successful in a different field. It's just how you apply yourself. The only thing that we are limited by is our time and our priorities.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
I can see you just reflecting there.
Yeah. I've been doing that the whole time. The whole time I've been like listening to it. I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, that's me. That's not me. Yeah, fuck, I need to do that more. So many times.
Yeah, but I think for you, you're phenomenal on the racetrack and your driving ability, and then what you've done there, you've just applied in the gym. You know, if you think about that discipline, the way you do it, the way you set yourself up, the way you prioritize.
Music as well.
And music too. I'd say you don't prioritize music as much as you used to.
No, especially recently. After I did the whole last year, I did that whole synthwave saga. I said I'd give it a crack to produce that music for a year. I did it for a year, went nowhere. So then that kind of just killed me. I wanted to start back up again, but yeah, that's another episode.
That is. Come back with that one. So what have you learned, Andrew, about yourself? So in the last... let's just pause. In 3 years, you've gone from 0 to representing your country. I don't care how you got there. You're still wearing you're still wearing a green and gold. So have you stopped to reflect? Because I know, again, a lot of it, what you were saying is about you wanting to do something, set a good example, train, discipline, all that kind of stuff. Have you actually stopped to reflect on what you've achieved? Like, are you where you want to be?
Thank you. That's a very good question, and you've asked that of me a number of times along the journey, and
you never give me the answer. That's why I thought I'd do it live.
I'll be honest with you. I've never given you an answer because I didn't have an answer, and so the answer was no at all those times. But having put some thought to it before coming tonight to chat with you boys,
Top up.
it's been monumental in terms of the feeling you get when you represent Australia. You know, you fought through selection. You got the tingles. You're lining up last year against the USA, China, Indonesia. You know, Canada. You know, they're powerhouses around the world, and their crew selections are brutal. And you've achieved that. And then I thought about, is it winning? What is it? Why? And I would say that growing up, when people would say, just follow your passions. Being brought up in the household I was brought up in, it's like, you're going to end up on the side of the road if you do that.
Well, what was your passion back then?
Oh, well, I did have a passion because I was always studying, right? So you don't get to develop so much when you're constantly introverted, right? What I've loved in reflection is, in the past, how I would describe success. It was individual success. So it's me doing well in a test, or me doing well in the career, or setting up business. What it was is very self-focused, and naturally when you start a business, you start to share that, and you broaden your language from myself and I to our, we. But when you're part of a team, it's magical. So, you know, networking is very similar, but depending how networking is done. Networking can be very me orientated, depend on how you are. But I'm very, as you know, networking together, I'm very generous, you're very generous, and there's a different way to go about it if you go from an abundance mindset. So for me, it's less about my journey. What I want is to be surrounded by a team. And if you can take that team and you can work together towards a common goal, and you can lift your people with you and rise and take them to another level, that is for me very fulfilling. And that is a behavior or a value that I really admire in people. I see you do it in networking, and I like to surround myself around people that I am aspirational with. You know, I see you do that with Ferrari. You know, when I saw you at the Formula One, and they could have chosen anyone to come. They're picking you. So, you know, for me, you often think about your circle of friends. Who do you spend your time hanging around? Are they people? Are you the one that's being dragged along, or are you the one that's that might be held back? And so, or holding people back, you know, and I don't think you should think about that negatively, but I'm just saying, think about the person that you want to be. You think about, you are going to take energy and inspiration, then surround yourself with people every day that are going to remind you. So that's my answer. I am very satisfied with the journey, and what I've received is a group of people and a community that I really admire, that I know will be around for the rest of my life, that are in the right place, that have the right heart, that no matter what, you could rely on them. You know, you'll find that the people who are flaky, they don't stick with dragon boating. Yeah. That's not to say you won't be good friends. I'm just saying it takes a lot of heart to keep turning up.
So out of interest, do you think you would have enjoyed these same emotions and learnings as if you would have done something like golf or boxing, where it's perhaps not as a team sport? So I'm getting the sense that you really wanted a team sport. You really wanted to immerse yourself, to be uncomfortable, to then build and grow and enjoy a success as a team, rather than just Andrew hitting a golf ball or something like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a very good question. Like,
nothing wrong with golf, by the way.
Golf is a wonderful sport. Growing up, sitting at home, studying, forever studying, right? That's just you honing your sword, whatever. And so, you know, that's not for me enjoyable. What's enjoyable is the interactions with people. We're human beings. We're social beasts by nature. And I think what has allowed humans to become the number one organism on the planet is our ability to work together. And so, being able to be in a team environment, hands down, it's not to say that you can't achieve physical prowess. I'm not interested in physical prowess. What I'm interested is in that bond because I'm a very positive person. So you will find in that some sports, when they're quite individualistic, you can still be part of the team, but like someone can say, I achieved everything. So sports where you cannot you can't have one person being the king or the queen. They're the ones that I love. They're the real sports. So for one, would I go to the gym? No, I don't love myself enough to just go to the gym, and that's a bad thing. But when I am accountable to someone else, to a teammate, and we have a goal, and we set a goal for us to all do our best and be at our best at a certain point, I will go. Because it no longer becomes me going to the gym. It becomes, I don't want to let my team down. I don't want to let my state down. I don't want to let my country down. And for me, that's a very powerful motivation. And so that's what it takes for me. So I'm not speaking for anyone else. This is simply for myself.
This is your episode. You can say what you want.
Thanks, mate.
It's interesting about the team thing. Like motorsport is kind of both. Because motorsport, to the person driving the car, he doesn't think it's a team sport. Yeah. He's in the car, helmet on, brains out. Like he's just worried about, hitting that apex, beating that person. Whereas in the team or in the garage, everyone's trying to get that car ready, tweaking it perfectly, making sure front right is, on the wheel when he has to be, jack guys in the jack position and everything. So like there's a massive focus on team. And everyone talks about being in the team when you're in a motorsport team. But then for the driver, it's probably one of the most selfish jobs that you can do in a sport. So it's funny, like you were mentioning both those two things, and motorsport is like both of those two things together.
It's interesting that you say that. Definitely a fan of Formula One, Netflix, and maybe for the top driver, that's the case. But I would argue that the second driver, number 2 driver, is very much about the team.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, they want to be for themselves, but in the end, they'll get the call, and it's for the team.
So
points.
When but that's against what they want to do.
Absolutely.
So when you're in a double, in a team with 2 cars, the one person that you need to beat 100% is your teammate. Yeah. Don't worry about everyone else. Everyone else is in different hardware. You're in the same car as that other person, so you're the person that you're matched against that person more than anyone. That person does not want to be second, I'm telling you now. He wants to beat his teammate more than anyone. He wants to grab his helmet and absolutely beat that person.
I unequivocally, I understand.
Yeah.
And so for me, just watching those episodes where Red Bull was chewing through second drivers all the time, it was for me, it loved to watch it. It's like, it was carnage, but it was toxic, right? Yeah. So
they're known for that. It's very quick in and out.
Yeah, but then, at rep level, you get to a point where you're selected based on your performance. And often John has said to me, hey, Mr. Australia, and my response, John, is always, I have to try again next year, right? So no one's going to give you a seat. You have to fight for your seat.
Totally. Yeah, for sure.
But it's the pressure on those guys. Yeah. I can't even imagine,
Huge, absolutely. There's only 20 seats in there, 20 seats in the whole world, to drive a Formula One.
I think there's a couple of things I've noticed as the seasons have gone on is one, just on the team part, is, how much it does mean to maybe the teams lower down the ranks to get a point, and the elation on all the engineers and mechanics, not just the driver, when they do actually get a point and when they do finish higher up, that it means no one goes to that office, I can imagine, not wanting to win.
Only 10 drivers are scoring points.
But that's it. So it's like, and we've all worked in companies where you just get people that coast. they're just happy to take
mediocrity.
They're just happy to take a paycheck, right?
Can't have that in F1.
You just absolutely cannot. And so no one in any of those teams are not giving 100%. And then to not get a result, it would hurt.
Yeah,
and then for it to be ongoing, it would hurt even more. And so when it does happen, I guess it's a bit like you. You were training really, really hard. You weren't training less than anyone else. You were training as much as everybody else. So even to get the call up, it still would have been so sweet, right? Bit,
Absolutely. I mean, what you're describing in F1 is it's not an even playing field. Like the budget, the cap only came in like this year compared to what the top teams are spending. Those smaller teams have a very limited budget. So you got your top tier. Sorry.
No, I was going to say curious as to whether soccer, but football would adopt a similar.
It already does have it.
Does it? In the European League?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, that shows you how involved I am in it.
I don't know how it's measured because it's absolute bullshit. Because you got some teams like Real Madrid and stuff like that who just spend. Yeah, I don't know how it works, but it's a farce most of the time.
Yeah.
Teams have been pulled up on it, and you see Man City and stuff like that spending absolute ludicrous amounts of money. Chelsea spending ludicrous amounts of money and still losing.
That little dig for your brother.
Yeah, Danielle is probably going to listen to this as well, so he will love that. Actually, they won this morning, but anyway, about fucking time. We digress.
So what are some of the things, Andrew, that you've taken? I get the sense that from your professional world, you took discipline, you took goals, you took goal setting, and applied it into the Dragon Boat world, into your sporting passion. What are some of the sporting things that you've taken and perhaps put into your business world? Do you find yourself, are you working as hard? Are you working as long hours? Are you prioritizing your wellness a little bit more? Because obviously, we've known each other a long, long time. You've never looked as fantastic. Like you're in shape.
Thanks, mate.
You're looking great as a byproduct. Well, you'd hope so with all the training you do. Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be like, it's a gym shut. But like, what are some of the things that you've perhaps learned from the sports side to then take into the corporate world?
It's funny. You'll find that a lot of the things that you do to succeed, you do it in, and it's translatable across. So if I was to say, I took so much from planning in terms of like research and data. When you research investments, like you go do scans, you make sure you understand all the professionals that you need to see, chiros, physios, you name it, and understand your body, your nutrition, everything that you want to do. Taking back was around community, how important it is. I think it's more along the lines of how I understood that people want balance. And, am I working harder? I would say I'm working efficiently. So now I don't have downtime. Now if I'm either focused on three main things, it's either going to be family, the business, or the sport, right? I don't muck around with anything else. So that means you have to, you cannot, you need to be really efficient with your time. Put together a really, really good team. So you're saying team here, make sure the team at work is a really, really good team. Make sure everyone else is pulling their weight, but also give them the same balance. We live in a very different world, post-COVID world. Give them trust, give them the respect, take them on that journey and share with them on that journey. So I would say that I would naturally, in a smaller business, you create a closer culture. For my aim is to create a family culture within the business. And for me, I'm very interested that they're being healthy, that they're doing physical activity, that there's healthy foods in the office, like all those. It's a reflection. Some people are able to compartmentalize, but I think the way I operate is you want to be authentic and you want to be able to see that translate into all facets of what you do and your interactions. So time management, I've always been quite time managed about processes. For me, I think less about, I think they just mirror well. I think there's a good flow, there's a good gel. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Yeah.
So what I've been dying to ask is tell us about your training regime and also nutrition, because look at you're getting results. So yeah, like I know Italian diet is horrible for training most of the time. Like, are you still sticking to maybe I don't know, this might sound racist, but an Asian diet? An Asian diet? Mate, I just got censored.
You cut yourself off.
Got rice, bitch?
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Yeah, of course you can. So yeah, what's your training like? Do you train every day? Do you do resistance training? Are you on, tell me about it.
Yeah, so when through the regular season, you're training in accordance to your club. So right now we're in club. State training's just started, so now we've added elements of state. So state coach would take into account that we would train, would say 3 water sessions a week, and so and then our team will set, our coach will set, say, gym training that you would do, includes weights, resistance, and you would. Then with state, it's just another level. So they add another water session, and then they'll add some other metrics that they will use to measure you against the other team. And depending on the coach will be how intricate that measurement will be or how relaxed it might be. And so, different coaches have different styles. Well, that's one thing I've learned. So, not having played enough sport growing up, I've learned that the different types of instruction from different types of coaches, that was a new learning curve for me. And so different people think very differently. Different coaches will coach you very differently. And what I've had to do is be a lot more adaptable. So in the business, I've always been the voice. And so it's very interesting going from the voice to yes sir, no, yes sir, have 3 bags full, sir. And it's nice, it's humbling. And so you become a technician, there'll be different ways in which they want to achieve that outcome. And it's your job to follow that to the letter, because it'll be how the coach runs their campaign will determine their success. What you don't want to do is go off and do something on your own. In terms of gym program, I'll say Aurora's is the national team. They had a strength and conditioning coach, and so they give you a program and you would follow it. Nutrition, it's something. One thing I share with you about the program in Australia is that the athletes aren't paid. So when you were telling me about, say, some of the teams down the bottom, I don't want to name teams, but like getting that one constructor's point. Australia in the Prems division is kind of like that. We don't get paid. So you got China and you've got Indonesia, you've got Thailand. They get paid. They get paid big money to race. And so I remember they're treated like top athletes are in Australia and around the world when it comes to paddling. So I remember when we had a race in Hong Kong, Macau. We got off Macau, and the guys we're just soaking it all in, and then we get down, and there's like camera crews out there videoing you in Hong Kong the same, and you're just treated like royalty. And everywhere you walk down the street, they'll ask you, "Oh, you're dragon boating." "Oh, I used to do dragon boating." "Oh, yeah," and so they'll ask to take photos of you. So it's very different, and so it was it was really good to see, and I hope that the sport will develop to that point one day, because one thing, I'll come back to the point, but one thing about sport is that with everything that was going on last year at World Championships, that Ukraine was there, China was there, USA was there. You know what? Nothing mattered.
Yeah, universal.
It's universal. It's sport. It's just you're there to play sport and represent your country. Everything else, there's no room for politics, and that was what was really, really beautiful. So I would say I'm far more accepting. There's a role model to it, but back, because there's no funding, we don't have maybe the support that we need, because it's not Olympic sport.
Yeah.
So you'll find that in Australia, a lot of the Olympic sports have all the funding from the government. The larger the support base, the more funding it's going to get. So, and the higher the profile. So Matildas did so well, last year. They suddenly got more funding. So many more girls will say, oh, wow, Matildas, I'm going to play soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's really, the sport needs to develop and be supported in that way. Yeah. And so back to what I said about nutrition, we all kind of need to work it out on our own. So this is where, even though you might not have the support, you need to work it out. You need to go then, it's an investment for each of the athletes on their own to go get the necessary help to say, what should I be eating? How much should I be eating? When should I be eating? You sharing with me earlier on about your training regime, and sometimes athletes cannot train enough. Sometimes athletes can overtrain and not respect the rest that they need. And so, these are all the things that happen behind the scenes where you'll get injuries, where you're trying to push, and no, you're not going to achieve high-level, elite-level performance if you're not pushing the envelope every time.
Yeah.
So very much I try and break it out throughout the week.
Yeah.
I try not to do too many double trainings. But, often when we're competing and we know that Indonesia have a high-altitude training facility, and the only thing they've invited Australia over, but we don't have the budget to go over to go train with them. Or China, like they literally will go to a site. They'll get up, they'll train in the morning, eat, rest, do whatever recovery, get out there in the afternoon and do it all over again. So, success is measured by your discipline and what you're able to do. So I think Australia is able to be there and achieve on what very much the diligence and the community, thank you to the AusDBF for even putting things together. So there is a campaign, a lot of volunteers in that sport, DB, NSW, all the Dragon Boat associations around Australia. They work very hard to make sure that there's states and then there's nationals, but it's just not enough. We just need more support.
Yep.
Yeah.
Surely you know someone, John, mate. You're a networker.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Well, is there any final thoughts? I mean, that's quite the story and quite the achievement in 3 years. I mean, a lot of people they'd spend a lot of time trying to get to where you've got to. What would you say to someone that's perhaps curious about checking it out?
Yeah, I would say that don't be scared about not being fit enough. Just come down and try it. There's a Dragon Pass at the moment in New South Wales that allows you to have 30 days free trial. And so get out and enjoy it. You'll find that at the very least, you'll make a whole bunch of friends. And my club's Sloths Dragon Boat Racing Club, and we train down at Pyrmont. So a stone's throw away, and it's been a pretty hot summer. I'm sure it's going to be a pretty hot autumn. So
sure.
We definitely welcome you. So drop a line, drop a comment, and I can get in touch and send you details if you're interested.
Yeah, awesome. We'll leave the links in the description. That's got to be one of the most clippable episodes we've ever had. was a lot of nuggets of wisdom in that. It was great.
Well, I'll leave that to you.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Well, mate, I just want to say well done.
Thanks, mate.
You're not very good at taking, affirmations and congratulations, but in a public forum that's going to be recorded, well done.
Yeah, absolutely.
To go from zero to hero, representing the country and representing your state, prove an example to the family and things, and to yourself, and then adapting and adopting all of that, and that's textbook, mate. Well done.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Uru.